Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Con and the Duck with Jamar S. Russell and Dewey Dale Walsh, the Duck. And today, actually, I forgot to tell you this in the preamble, Jamar, but actually, we have something to celebrate today, if you want to look at it that way, which is today is the 50th anniversary of my arrival in Teenoch-Hackensack community. So we can talk about like the penal system I've been confined to for 50 years, and it ties right in with our theme for today, which is times. So I'll turn it over to you and take it away.
Well, hello everybody. Just gonna go ahead like we normally do. Start us off with some poetry. I'll be reading continuously again out of my book April, 30 poems in 30 days. So this one is the fifth prompt. Last name. Senor Lopez said my name means a piece of cloth. That's cloth. Money is printed on a piece of cloth. Meaningful pictures are painted on pieces of cloth. Scriptures and poems are featured on pieces of cloth. So many people are influenced by these pieces of cloth. I did a search myself and came up with different people with the name. The most notable to me was Bill Russell, 11 championship rings, more than Jordan. Does that mean make him the best? More important, his fight for civil rights. It makes me proud to share the rights to Russell. More personal, Roy Slade Russell, my grandfather, father, barber, entrepreneur, property owner, veteran, man, respected. Never met him, but his legacy with me is resurrected, and I'm left with Slade Russell, not knowledgeable of the enslaver who may have enforced the name. Maybe I'll see with 23andMe and sue for what belongs to me. As of now, it's the name and it's the name and do like granddad, take care of my family.
Nice. So one thing that sprung to my mind about the whole Bill Russell thing is Bill Russell played in an era when at least at first he had to go to a colored hotel while his teammates stayed in a quote normal or white hotel. Uh, actually, that really, I mean, that came to a head with Bill Russell, but I think it actually came to a head in the NFL one day when basically Jim Brown, who was like arguably the greatest running back in history, basically gathered up four of his uh, black teammates and said, "We aren't playing if we don't get our rights," and
Hmm.
that basically opened the door for sports integration. I think I don't know about Jackie Robinson or anything, but I do know that Bill Russell played in an era of segregation.
Yeah, and so he definitely played a part in civil rights and doing different things and speaking up for the causes. So that's one of those things when I actually got to look into him because of course that was before my era, but still I always when I have these conversations with guys as far as whoever the greats are, the goats, I'm like, look, man, what does the jury say? You know what I'm saying? Because when you got those rings, that means something. When there's been people that have been on multiple great teams and have collected, like Robert Ory, I think he has a good amount. When nobody necessarily looks at him as the star of the team or the team lead, but he definitely was a contributor. So you can't dispute, whether he was good or not. And then you have, so it's something to discuss. But to be able to be not only a player in a dynasty, but also to be player coach says a lot. To do what you need to do in that role to, help the team to victory. But yeah, and I
But the other thing about Bill Russell is, a lot of people are saying Will Chamberlain was like the greatest, by far the greatest. I mean,
Hmm.
statistically and everything, basically,
Yeah.
Will Chamber is like head and shoulders literally above everybody else. I mean, like 100-point games and like
Hmm.
60 rebound games and stuff. But the point is, talking about the rings. Bill Russell has the rings. He played directly against
Against him, exactly.
Wilt Chamberlain for like 15 years,
Exactly.
and I think Wilt Chamberlain eventually won a ring or two, but
Yeah.
it was like, and so that's really like a question of a perspective when you look at goats is you know, I say boats, by the way, because a goat in the Bible is very negative. The goats are sent to hell. So basically, I say boats, which is best of all time.
Hmm.
But anyway, when you look at is it like the performance on the field, or is it the number of championships? For instance, football, Dan Marino was like probably, statistically was probably the
Yeah.
greatest quarterback in history, but he never won
He
a
was, but he
championship.
didn't. That's just like I feel about like Barry Sanders, great running back, at that era. But Emmitt Smith got the rings,
Right.
and he got the records also because I mean it's a team sport. So that's why I say like, it's one thing to play a role, but then having the rest of everybody else on it. So it goes to show when it was a question. I mean, a debate that I have sometimes with the whole uh, Jordan LeBron thing, and it's just like one is the jewelry, two didn't have to leave a team, and the argument that was recently had was, well, he had Scottie Pippen. Yeah, that's great. Still though, look at the time in which he did it, and stuff like that, and so,
Right.
these are different things, man. But
I
it's
I
perspective.
I, I don't know how I happened to cross this, but I saw a film of the game and the playoffs with the Bulls where they went double overtime with the power of the with five Hall of Famers on that Celtics team, and how Jordan like torched that team for 62 points is like the greatest playoff game in history. But and he was only like 23 years old. So, but I'm at, but I'm at. In baseball, are you going to say Yogi Berra is the greatest ever because he has the most rings? He has 10 rings.
Mm, okay, yeah. That's hey, it's up for a debate, man. It's always a matter of perspective. So
And and what it really comes down to is when I was working with the WFG, I talked with Marshall Falk one time, arguably the greatest receiving running back in history. First, but he had like a weekly program for the company free. He cost like $10,000 a speech, and he would just do his free for an hour with the company. But I met him one time. The one time I met him, I was ready, and I said, Marshall, what would you say was the greatest lesson the NFL ever taught you? And he just thought for a second, and he says, a team is only as strong as its weakest link. And that's really the difference between championship teams and runners up is that everybody contributes. I meant
or
not
or as a leader, you make sure that people become stronger. You
right.
know, So yeah.
Well, yeah, like the Yankee dynasty. They had Jeter, they had Mariano, they had like all sorts of leaders, And if you didn't produce, you heard it not from the man, not from Joe Torre, but from your fellow players.
Hmm. So you got some poetry for us there? Mm. You gotta celebrate life. Shoot, if it's been 50 years, that means you've been around for
I know.
a minute.
But that's the whole thing, you know. A lot of people, most people with my diagnosis don't make it to 50, much less 50 plus a diagnosis. So I feel very fortunate. Um, for okay, this is good. Living in THC on THC. I wrote its papers so student body could party. Did it at Dartmouth, gone south to Fairdale University, whence I graduated with high honors, still a highlight of my journey, while now I receive my metaphysical surgeon accreditation. The operation is birth of Gaia from the exhausted womb of earth, where is fostered illusion of birth into creation of duality, by which we discover Jesus, learned many times before the concept of conception was literally alien. Sex was invented at forever frat party that ran out of beer.
Have a frat party, huh?
And forever frat parties that ran out of beer. So that's how sex was invented. The Vikings took out their swords and took it to the females. So
Oh man.
it's Jew history. But oh, so actually 50 years in time. It's a very synchronistic thing today. So
So how do you feel about it?
uh, well, as the more I've settled here, you know, I don't know if settle's the right word. I should give some background, I think, because basically I was uprooted from my birth father at the age of 1, moved to Abilene, Texas, got a second father, and I was uprooted, really like ripped from the womb of Texas to New York City when I was 10 years old. Basically, from the age of 10, when I moved to New York City, to the time when I got taken away at Dartmouth at the age of 20, I never really had a home. I had like 4 years until age 14 in New York City. Then I went to boarding school for 4 years, went to boarding school in England for a year, and went to Dartmouth, and that's when everything exploded. So basically, for the decade of my teens, I never had like a real foundation, a real home. And my parents they were in New York, but they were very busy. My father was like president of the American Bar Association, and he was actually one of the most successful corporate lawyers in America. He always was like, I mean, he always, you could always sense his heart, but he was always busy. Uh, anyway, so when I came to Hackensack to be in a psychiatric program after I got out of the hospital, I was in a mental hospital after Dartmouth. I didn't really have any conception of what to do. And they told me I was going to be in Hackensack for 6 months in the program for 6 months, and then I could go back to Dartmouth. But Dartmouth said because of the nature of my withdrawal, I couldn't come back for years. It was either go down to Oklahoma and work sewer pipelining until I could go back to Dartmouth, which I'd done the previous 3 summers, which is what I wanted to do, or come to the program in Hackensack. Long story short, on January 15th, 1976, sat down with Dr. Year, and that began 22 years of association with him, five and a half, 3 sessions a week, 2 group sessions a week. It was basically, full-time interrogation and mental stress. So, uh, but the point I'm getting to about Hackensack is every day that I stayed in Hackensack, I became more tied to Hackensack, especially after I went to the hospital 9 times when I was in the program for 5 years, because that really like localized and gave me a place to plant my reality. As time went on, I got more and more comfortable and settled in my Hackensack reality. A lot's happened. I graduated from college. I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years. But the real difference was when I went to Colorado Springs last December with Andrew, my podcast co-host,
Mm-hmm.
and really realized that Hackensack had become a penitentiary, a mental hospital penitentiary for me in my own conception, rather than as a home and a place where I could truly enjoy myself. And I made that switch, and therefore the 50th anniversary of Hackensack is one for celebration, not condolences.
And look, that's a hell of a journey, man. I don't know if you look at it like that, but one outside of a movie, I don't know what it's like to be in a boarding school, and I would assume that it probably was expensive for your people, because they didn't just put you off in anywhere. So I mean, I always appreciate your intelligence, for everything that you've done. Then also to be going over to what you say, London,
Well, it was outside London to
outside
England.
of London, then to go abroad and go to school, of course, your journey dealing with mental health, that's something else, but still you're 70 years old, right?
Well, the thing is, Jamar, all that education and everything basically just prepared me for what was coming when I got sick. When I got taken away. Because it taught me how to process mentally, intellectually, maybe not mentally, but intellectually, everything that was coming my way.
Yeah. And I mean, you're still here, you know. So,
Yeah.
which is a blessing, man. So, you live to talk about it, and that gives us a segue into today's lesson as far as time, because we both serve some time in some type of capacity, when I definitely be blessed, to be able to see that age to where you are, and then be able to share and help other people with it. So you see it? See the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, um, with this, I'll just go ahead and begin reading from it. Time. When Brother Amen first pitched the idea of doing a newsletter, it seemed like something that would be too time consuming. Then he shared his vision for what he wanted to accomplish with a set amount of time of writing, and I was on board. There have been a few things that I have learned in our interaction, and two things mainly that I will explore: time and cooperation. Personally, I've been sentenced to a large amount of time that I don't want to do, but unfortunately, this is my plight. Okay, so what? We all heard the saying time is money, so could I be looking at this wrong? I have dreams and plans to be rich. In order for that to happen, something has to change with my situation, because currently I'm relying on state pay. So for anybody that doesn't know what state pay is, it's the amount that you get from the institution. A lot of people, where I was getting maybe $26 or $35 a month. I was in a shop and went from 20 something to eventually making about 140 a month. And still, obviously, it's not enough to really live on, but wasn't like I had to pay rent and car insurance and gas or anything, but still, all right. So, with the absence of money, my only other form of currency is time, something I have in abundance. In all of my time that I've been reading, in all of my time that I've been reading and learning, I've seen that those who become rich don't spend their money or time foolishly. I've also learned that when it comes to investing, I will always be my best investment. With my time, I'm learning, working on my craft, putting my plan together, and executing it. I'm also doing things I love, reading, writing, and sharing what I'm learning with the hopes that it will help improve the lives of others. With the patience and application of the things that I'm learning, I get to see what works for me and gain the experience. This has been a journey where I've had to constantly ask myself if I'm making it count. Am I making the right decisions on what I'm spending my time and energy on? Is what I'm doing going to matter to the overall goal? Is the company that I keep going to help me or harm me? Just as a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, a team is only as strong as its weakest person. Something that you said earlier, Dale.
Yeah, yeah.
Yet
Run.
another can compensate for the other's weakness and together make the whole stronger. All of these things have to be evaluated in order to get to where we want to be. I believe that these are practices that we must keep up in life and not just in prison. With this time and commitment to doing this work, I've been fortunate enough to come across others who are on similar path. This gives the opportunity to work with them and collaborate in ways that will help us both obtain our goals. I encourage everyone reading this to consider how we can cultivate our environment so that it is conducive to obtaining our goals. For me, it's by being in the company of those who I know are on the same page and working on the same things that will help us get there. Exercise. Answer the following questions from the text. Am I making the right decisions on what I'm spending my time and energy on? Is what I'm doing going to matter to the overall goal? Is the company that I'm keeping going to help me or harm me?
Wow, that was yeah. So, uh, thing that popped into my head was time and money, or time and energy, and
Mm-hmm.
like basically, everybody says time is limited, but energy is unlimited, and therefore, if you can focus your energy, I think this is what you're saying. If you can focus your energy to best utilize your time, then your chance of success will be greatest.
Absolutely. So, um, it's one of those things like if you think about light, right? Just as if it's spread, sure to light up a room, but it's not really doing anything. But if you focus it, on a beam, then like say if you had a magnifying glass and you took the sunlight and then focused it on like a dried up leaf or something, you could create a fire just by focusing. And so
Right.
it's kind of like that. So if we're focusing on a goal and narrowing on that goal, then there's more things that can be achieved. And so the brother, right, he went by AC Amen while he was in. And I speak about him in former episodes, Drew Wolay. And he's out here doing great things with art. I'll be visiting his art show on the 30th. But it's like guys like that I continue to collaborate with. If I can speak to, even though we're doing different things, we're doing things in the same direction, which is legit building business, using our creativity, helping others, through whether it's just inspiration or exposure to the things that we're doing, sharing information, what have you. So, it's that, me and you collaborating on this, that's me choosing to spend my time not only to share art and creativity and ideas, and also our different programs, but something that could help benefit somebody else. The rest of it is just promoting it so that more people become aware of what we got going on. And I'm sure that we'll be creative on how to actually get that. But it's like anything else, man, it requires work. So
Right.
it's either you cannot do anything with your time, or you can be productive with your time. You know.
Well, the other thing that I mean, this is something that Andy and I are sort of like, Andrew and I and my other podcast co-hosts are sort of learning to deal with is, since we started the podcast, his life is like taking off in a completely new direction, and it's just like, you know, how do you like I don't know, compartmentalize the time, but how do you like arrange your time to be able to best attend to all the necessities and all the true obligations that you have as someone who's building whatever you're building?
I um I find that it's just necessary to break things down, do little bit by little bit, cause I know that sometimes when I'm first hit with a task that I know that is like pretty large, it's like it can be overwhelming, and it's just like we only got 24 hours in a day, you know. A portion of that we're gonna be eating, sleeping, pooping, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. So it's like, what you gonna do? And in my case, being that I'm in the field a good portion of that is driving around from one destination to another, and is not even including the commute in which I have to, come home, or go to work. So all of these things are things that's taken out in a day, and it's just like, all right, how to best utilize this. A lot of times, while I drive, I'm listening to um, I'm listening to something on YouTube, maybe something that can educate me on doing something. If I'm not listening to something that's entertainment, because I mean we need that type of balance. Or if it's a conversation, it's still breaking down certain things because I know I have to do a good number of emails for the program to either get assistance or make people aware of what I'm doing. And it's just like, wow, it's a lot. However, I'm looking at the time span in which things have to be done. And I know that if I really focus, I could probably chop that down and do a whole lot in an amount of time than rather than spreading it out. So it's just playing that kind of game with myself. Because recently, um, my job, we had a meeting about certain certain things that weren't being kept up as far as data. And I know that I had really slacked in it. So I dedicated that day to updating as much as I could. And so it was just something about focusing. So I know that when it's time and I feel like focusing and really locking in, I can get things done. It's just creating a habit of that on a regular basis. Cause
Right.
when excuse me, when I was incarcerated, right, my desire to get free was, greater than pretty much anything that I've experienced out here. So it was like doing what I can and being creative and making sure that I'm doing that and being on that every day, you know. And so now that I've obtained it, these other goals aren't as, they can't compare. But then I have a lot more tools out here than I did in there.
Right.
So, it's like, all right, well, this
Well, the bottom line is you have the confidence of having gotten overcome the impossible summit, and after that, everything is sort of downhill.
and that's how I feel. I really express that to people. I'm like, man, everything else now is a plus, and I'm not gonna say like it's easy, but it just doesn't compare, So it's like, all right, you know, I and it's amazing with this AI. we can be accomplished. Because if ever there's a problem or there's something like that, then I'm like, all right, well, let me put this in there because a lot of stuff I've already done the work. So it's just now take this, reformat this, put this, do this for me, da 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 da. Whatever I can do, and that helps me save so much time. But it's still knowing, because there's people that don't utilize it. I've had conversations with a lot of people, even with my caseload with the young people. I'm like, utilize and leverage this right now, because I remember when it didn't exist and how difficult it was. A lot of these young folks, they be tripping. They never had to use a card catalog at the library. Like, I don't
I,
even think most of them visit a library. Like, they don't even know what that is, man. It's like, things that people would had to do before. Like, they don't know about dial-up modems. They don't know about the old printers with
right,
that you had to kind of put stuff in there, or even typewriters. Like, I still had to use a typewriter while I was in prison
right.
because we didn't have access to it.
But yeah, I think you'll find there's some using there. It was a meme I saw. It was like how to drive a millennial crazy. Okay, you put him in a room with a black and white TV and a dial-up computer, like a 1995, like a Apple or Google computer, Microsoft computer with a dial-up of AOL, and
Hmm.
then
It still made a
you
noise.
and then you tell them to use a rotary phone to call up the dial-up computer, and then you write all the instructions in script.
And that's another thing. Like I have when I, give some of the young people gift cards, like they have it on the form, print, sign, and date.
Right.
You know how to sign. A lot of them don't have signatures. They weren't taught cursive. They didn't have to learn that. So it's just amazing. It's just like, just print your name again, man. Just put it down there. I'm like, eventually you're gonna have to, create some type of signature because they still require that, even if it's on an electronic pad. You're gonna have to
Right,
put
right.
something together. But it's that sort of thing where it's just like the time changes. However, we should never stop being creative and learn how to problem solve and stuff like that. So it's
Right.
yeah, but nah, I agree with what you said totally. Like after doing the impossible, it's like the rest of this is like, okay.
This was like the lesson of my recent hospitalization. I only stayed in 2 days because not only was it like, I mean, literally, it looked like a deserted warehouse or the inside of a nuclear reactor. It was like that bare. But also, it was just like realizing this is a reality that I have left behind long, long ago. And, but, people used to say to me, how can you be happy sometime? And I say, well, when you look down the barrel of permanent institutionalization 9 times and face down the executioner, everything else is pretty easy. So, yeah, I'm in my case. You were looking at your 50-year sentence. I was looking at permanent insanity and institutionalization.
See, this is one of the things that I find um, it's not surprising to me, but it's still a shocker. So when I go into the jail on Monday nights and I run my program, there's not everybody trying to come in there to try to figure out what they can learn or what they can do. It's a small group, and it's like
Right.
that, and it has been like that throughout my incarceration. You got guys that's gonna rather play tabletops, and when I say tabletops, I mean like cards, chess, anything that you could play on it. Watch TV. They have tablets now on the institution, so it's either being on that or being on the phone instead of learning some information that can better themselves. And it's like that's not attractive to people because I guess they think that they have it figured out or is BS. I mean, and it's to me, um, I can't really figure it out because throughout my incarceration, we didn't have somebody that had experienced what we were going through come in on a regular basis or be
Right.
able to give us law on this is what you need to do to prepare yourself for your freedom and obtain your freedom, and to be successful after you obtain your freedom. So there's a few that appreciate it, but it's just like that. It's a numbers game, but that's a choice. And what people choose to do with their time is going to tell you how things going to be for them in the future. You know.
But it's like I say, recovery is always an option, but the crucial word is option. You got to be willing to do the work. You got to like realize that, you know, it they you want to get better. I mean, whether it's in prison and getting out like you did, or whether it's avoiding the hospital forever and going through all the psychiatric gamut that they can put you through and just saying you aren't going to break me. But ultimately it's just like uh, that's to say it's that's my thought. But
Let's take this for example, though, Dale. We're on what number episode?
14 or 15.
Either one, right? Whichever it is. I can't remember if it was Alex Hermosi or whoever was saying it. Um, the top 1%, in order to be successful in podcasting or whatever, it said most people don't get it past 20 episodes. By the time we finish both of our program, we will have that 20. All we will have to do is one more to reach a certain level. Now, of course, we know a lot of the other stuff goes on to, market promote and making sure that people become aware of it. But it's choosing to do something to get better, to get to a desired destination. Like I wasn't thinking about this a whole lot. I figured it would be cool. My intention was more so, how do I do the time? Don't let the time do you on the tablet for the incarcerated population, and also market the turning adversity into advantage to the prison population so that they can get that. And it's like, all right, well, we create the platform, we put it on there. Maybe somebody will be interested, be able to come in, whatever. You have your live love. We have a chance of um, sharing with both of our audience and putting it in there and being consistent to see something through. Now, a lot of people have a problem with seeing things through, putting in the work, doing the things necessary in the allotted time to get to the destination. People would just say, I want this or I want that, but don't want to put in the work. So, this is that. We'll have that work. I mean, even with things changing in our life, and I know my Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever is about to come busy because I'll be programming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. I'm still gonna find some time so that we can make sure that we go above 20 episodes.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
the analogy I'm thinking of is when people get sick, get psychic affect, get mental illness, they take medication, and a lot of times they're very resistant to medication. But let's say they take their medication for like 3 to 6 months, and they think they're fine, and they say there's nothing wrong with me. I just had something going on. I ate too many mushrooms, and I don't need this medication anymore. They stop taking the medication, and within 2 weeks, they're back in the hospital, psychotic again. That's really like the catch-22 of a spiritual journey is you can get to a point where you think you're like good and that everything is fine, and before you know it, the universe has slapped you in the face really hard.
So I'll go back to the 5 P's. Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Right.
Right? So it's just that one, by practicing doing what you need to do, um, you know, you're putting yourself in the habit of doing the things to make you closer to being well or whatever you need. Because I mean, that's just one of the things, whether it be for mental health, high blood pressure, diabetes, or whatever. You got to take your medicine on the regular or do those health practices that's going to help regulate that. So, if you fail to do that, then what you expect? So I just looked this up though, Dale, and I'm gonna read it to you. Most podcasters quit early, with 44% ending by episode 3, and 90% failing to reach episode 20. Making consistent key success often making consistency key. Success often means lasting beyond 100 episodes and delivering value through regular quality content, typically 20 to 60 minutes long, often weekly to outlast the majority and build an audience. So I guess we gotta strive for 100, but
Yeah.
it's,
Well.
but it says 90 failing to reach 20%. So we'll become that 10%.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, once you're in the 10%, you're in the elite anyway. So,
Yeah, how about that?
and it doesn't say how many make it to 100.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, how you have a lot more though. Like you
Oh,
have,
I have 42. I have 42 with Andrew, but we've been taking a break. So,
yeah.
uh,
So that 42, this 14, 42 plus 14, 56.
right.
Then don't you have others that you've done with guests and so forth, or by
Well,
yourself?
I've done guest hosts. I've been a guest on like 50 podcasts.
Yeah. So there you go. You're short of 100 or
I just want
whatever.
to get I just want to get everybody in a position where they can go deal to deal, where
Hey,
they
there
can
you go.
find deal someplace. You
There
know,
you
get
go. And so that's one of the things too, man. Volume is key, man. Putting it out and doing it. You know, with anything, sales, whatever, marketing, you gotta put out volume. People gotta do it, and that's one of the things where I'm motivating myself and keep telling myself now with these emails and the stuff that I gotta do to get support and to get out there is increase my volume. It's just like now, I don't know, maybe I gotta figure out something to give me some more energy and really get locked in, but it's going to happen because I know where I'm trying to get to. So
well, with me. Basically, I'm doing a complete reeval. I'm doing like a complete reevaluation of like not only my goals and my drives, but also where I'm going because like I said, the God thing is sort of I'm over the God thing and but also I know that mental health has been like a critical, I mean, basically the major issue of the last 50 years, but I'm tired of talking about it, to tell you the truth. I,
I
I, I,
mean,
I,
yeah,
I'd I'd rather talk about the Dale present and where we're going rather than getting caught up in the minutiae of my past.
that's it's ironic that you said that, right? And I, like you said, you wanted to read more recent things, man. I want to share something with you. Um, and let me see, let me find it. Okay. All right. It said I'm free now. They question why I keep speaking poems about the P now. They want to hear about me now. But me now is executing the plans I made when I was in. And the mission is to create a pipeline to prosperity from prison. Just listen. Out of sight, out of mind, and I won't forget it. I will continue to mention that mass incarceration and slavery in the presence. I had good men. I have good men who need a second chance and be forgiven. We need the strong black men who help me with my growth, aid others with their presence. I can't quit it. So when I grace this stage and you feel the rage or the sadness of my former sentence, I need you to know that there are 2.3 million men and women who can better their communities if they get the investment. I said it. My pain has given me purpose, and the mission is to give, and the mission is to give others like me or who I used to be the opportunity to be better. I had potential, but the poverty of the mental led me from engineer major to criminal. I have a conviction, but my conviction won't allow me to switch up until I'm done. So this is me now, and you're going to continue to hear it because I'm free now. So that was one of the things that I wrote last week because my poetry, most of it that I keep reciting was stuff that I wrote in. And it's like my mission isn't finished. That had given me a purpose. So it's like, man, seeing the things and experience the things that I experienced in there, my whole thing is I have to do something to make that environment better. I have to do something so that guys get the tools and the women get the tools so that they can, do their own personal development so the
Right.
rehabilitation can help and they can come out here and help their communities because generally, you know, people don't want to be messed up. That's been my experience. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like you have people that come from environments where certain things were either accepted, encouraged, or they felt that that was a way. And even if they didn't feel like it was a way, once you're doing things for so long, it becomes habit,
Right.
and habits can also form addiction. So there's the thrill for some breaking the law, committing crime, stuff like that. The rush of getting over or not getting caught. There's a whole lot that comes along with that, and once you are able to obtain certain things, be the flashy guy or be the cool guy or whatever, have money. I don't know if having money ever is going to be a bad thing. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of how you get it, though. Like, who's going to be like, oh man, I feel terrible. I have all this money in my pocket. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
All this money in my bank account. Like, oh man, I feel like the worst guy. But, of course, it's more than come to that. But it's like, that's my mission.
Well, money created in service rather than greed.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Of course. But it's a lot of good guys that I know that have come home. They're doing great, and there's some good guys that have been left behind just because the law isn't fair. And it's not the same across the board. I'm in Maryland, where Prince George's County is the only county that has a reentry program that has allowed me to be out here. However, there's other guys that's in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Charles County, St. Mary County that may be, just as great, but because in their county, their laws or their programming aren't the same, so they're penalized and have to stay in a place even though they have done the work or proved that they're, far more valuable, to their families and their communities than what they are in prison. Like prison, you get some cheap labor, but you're not getting as much as you can. We had guys out here and women out here that can be productive tax-paying citizens, then they can serve society at a greater in a greater way, even if they're just focusing on them and their family, because what they'll bring even to the economy helps out. You know. Right.
Um. So then, let me ask you. So what? Uh, I just lost the question. Uh. Oh, I know. Yeah. So would you say that issues of self-esteem are like one of the biggest problems in the prison population? Just because,
It's a big problem with a lot of people, especially those that have come from um, any type of hardship. Like there's those that can naturally have that, or there's those that it ebbs and flows, because I've dealt with self-esteem issues, especially in those times where I felt like we didn't have it. And those times where, they led me to doing the wrong things, or returning to do the wrong things. It was a matter of lack of self-worth, because I looked at what I had or what I didn't have as a reflection of, how I was. Even though I knew I had some intelligence and I wasn't a bad person or anything, it's still I didn't have. And then there's the comparison of some stuff that young people don't necessarily know, to just value themselves and look inside. So it's different, because let's say, you know, school, young person in school, and even if you wear uniforms, right, certain things are still different. A person may have $200-300 sneakers versus you just having some $50-40 ones. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? There's certain things in which you know, well, I can't afford that, but they can, like, or different things in which separate people, and it's just like, why or how, and a person, especially youth, and I try to definitely emphasize this with my young people. That's just now. That's just a temporary thing. Be able to work on it, learn about money, and do something if that's what you choose to spend your money on. And a lot of times, once you start having money, that doesn't even become something that you're focused on. But this is just a temporary thing, and I get that because I wish I knew that at 14, that whatever struggle, whatever thing that I thought that I was facing was a temporary thing, and that I could do stuff in that moment to help better my tomorrow, better things for me later on, you know.
Right. Well, the other, what comes down to is net worth does not equal self worth.
hmm Exactly. That's key right there. I'm gonna take that from you and I'm gonna start using that.
Yep.
I'm gonna
Well,
have to explain, break
I got
down, break down net worth to some of the young folks, but they'll get it. They'll
I got
understand.
that from a teacher that I follow named Peter Sage, but he also said that environment always trumps identity, and he gives the example of the identity is an ant on the back of an elephant, and
Mm,
the ant wants to see the sun, so it's going west, but the elephant is going east.
mm,
So no matter how hard the ant tries to see the sun, the, the environment, the elephant, is going to transport him away from what he wants. So
yeah, that
I,
definitely is
so
key.
I think those two taken in tandem can be very instructive. Net worth is not self worth, and environment identity. Environment always overcomes identity.
What's crazy, Dale? Environment is the next lesson that we'll be going over in the next episode.
I'm getting the flow, Jamar.
Yeah,
I'm getting the
man,
flow.
definitely, definitely. You got some poetry for us?
Um, yeah, I'll just read something from Oh, actually, I went to lunch today, and this guy from Hackensack who I know, he says, I told him that I wrote 5,000 poems, and he said, "Well, we're gonna get some." So he had like his phone, and he pulled up Amazon, and he bought my poetry book right then and there.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, so this sounds like very nice. Real love under full moon. It is you alone whom I truly crave, though I should be meditating in cave. For yours is the beauty and divine grace that won my attention, not knowing your face. And for you I feel deep gratitude. The destiny would let you be my friend, which has caused great shift in my attitude. knowing feelings I don't have to defend. To anyone except Lord up above, when I hear harmony of your soft voice, which helps me to know you are the right choice, to whom I can really show endless love, not only in the present, now, and here, but throughout eternity without fear.
Such a lover, such a romantic, man. Yeah, I know that rose of yours just loves it, man. Eats it all up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's
she,
up, man.
I haven't left her speechless lately, but I used to all the time. She's getting used to me.
Getting used to it, you're gonna have to switch it up, do something a little different.
I know, I definitely.
You gotta get creative, man.
Gotta keep her on her toes.
Um, do something, do something that you haven't done. Yeah,
I like fly to San Diego and surprise her
yeah. How
and see
about
if
that?
she's real. See if
Yeah,
she's real.
yeah. Have you been there before?
I've never been to San Diego, and she keeps saying she wants to come to Hackensack rather than have me come to San Diego. But man, I'm thinking about calling her bluff and
Both.
sending her a ticket and well, I'm thinking about calling her bluff and sending her a ticket and see if she gets on the plane and flies from San Diego to Newark.
Yeah, I wonder about this. I wonder how far Hackensack is
It's like
from Camden.
2,700 miles, I think.
It's 207 miles from where I am, but it's I was saying how far it is from Camden.
Oh, from Camden.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, no.
What you think? About an hour or so?
No, it's more than that. I think it's probably about, well, you figure,
I
the
say
shore is like
it's
two
probably
hours.
it's
So,
probably about an hour from Camden.
what?
From Camden, it's about an hour because it's
Oh, okay.
showing
Turn left on Brentwood Drive.
it's showing it's showing that it's uh about 4 hours from me. So I know it takes about 3 hours to get to get to Camden. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
And where are you in Maryland again? What town?
Upper Marlboro.
Okay.
Yep, yep. Well, that's our time for this evening, ladies and
We
gentlemen.
timed it perfectly, Jamar, perfectly in an hour. 59:48. So, just everybody subscribe if you like the show. Let people know about it. Spread it on Instagram. Spread it if you want to share the episodes. We'd love to have you do that. Jamar and I are always like thankful for your attendance. Any parting words, Jamar?
Yeah, just share the information like you said, giving valuable information for those whose loved ones had dealt with schizophrenia, or for anybody that has family members, loved ones, or whatever incarcerated, and how they can prepare for their freedom. So, or if you just like to hear great poets do their thing, just go ahead, like, share, subscribe, and check out the Con and the Duck.
And with that, I think we're just about through for the show. But keep up the good work and follow. And if you have any comments, we're always very curious about comments. So feel free.